teachers, and my friends. Today I'm going to talk about Pleistocene Britain for today's SLC. My name is Joash from year 7 and in this VIS. This is the content. As we are moving on to our presentation, what was the Pleistocene and the last ice age? Well, the Pleistocene was a long, cold period that had a lot of ice ages. A lot of animals, for example, woolly mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, and a lot more. So during during the peaks of those ice ages, there was something called LGM, which is last glacial moment. Last glacial maximum. What happened during the LGM? Well, not much of North America and Eurasia were filled with ice, and sea level was much lower than today, about 120 feet or 120 meters lower or 400 feet lower. Humans lived in small groups, and as we are moving on, why did it happen? Changes in Earth's orbit. Well, due to infantry, percussion, and axial tilt. Well, infantry means how elliptical is the Earth's orbit. The axial tilt is how much the Earth's tilt is. So every 15,000 years or something, so Earth's axis will tilt slightly. And percussion. There's two types of percussion: axial percussion and apsidial percussion. Axial percussion means when the axis moves, meaning that today's North Star is the polar axis, but during the Egyptian time it was thunder. And apsidial percussion means when the perihelion moves and it changes gates. Decrease in greenhouse gases. Well, decrease in greenhouse gases is because of the Earth's change in orbit. Sunlight. So when sunlight comes, land absorbs it, and then after that, it just gets absorbed. But then when it's in ice, it will just reflect back, so making it cold. So there's no greenhouse gases to catch it. So that's the reason. Ocean currents changing. Well, when an ocean current that was once warm changes all of a sudden to a cold, and vice versa. As we move on to our next slide, what are some Pleistocene megafauna? Well, we have the mammoth, the woolly rhinoceros, Smilodon, mastodon, and ground sloth. I'll tell each about its features. Well, the woolly mammoth. The woolly mammoth has a hairy fur to keep it warm from the cold during that time. A mastodon is an elephant-like creature which also lived around the same time and is in the same family as the mammoth, but is not an elephant, but looks like an elephant. Woolly rhinoceros. Well, woolly rhinoceroses also had fur to keep it warm from the ice age. And Smilodon. Well, Smilodon has an interesting, unusual feature. Well, basically, its fangs or incisors are at least about this big, about half of my hand. And ground sloth. There were large sloths that were able to climb and ate and were plant eaters. Basically ate from trees. As we move on, what was Britain like during the Pleistocene? Well, glacial periods. During those glacial periods, Britain had a lot of glacial periods. As I told, Pleistocene had a lot of glacial periods. Climate fluctuations. The climate happened. The climate fluctuations. It will change from glacial to interglacial a lot of times. Glacial meaning cold and interglacial meaning warm. Landscape. Well, the landscape was due to the glaciers moving slowly, catching up dirt, making valleys, U-shaped valleys, V-shaped valleys, mountains, and more. Shaping modern Britain. Well, as I said, it shaped modern Britain due to coastlines. Since was at that point in time, Earth was 120 meters low or 120 meters low or 400 feet low. And this created coastlines once the ice age happened. Like, as we move on to our next slide, why did the Pleistocene and the ice age end? The changes in Earth's orbit. Well, the incendiary has changed and it's now more of a circular type, closer to a circle. The axial tilt has been changed to the tundra. Then axial percussion has also changed, the perihelion. Then increase in greenhouse gases. Because of the tilt has happened and that now the tilt is closer to the sun, the greenhouse gases were able to come back. So melting of the ice. Since the greenhouse gases take the heat and store it into the Earth's atmosphere, it has melted the ice. Ice sheet melting caused more warming. Well, as you remember, the ice sheets just reflect. Right now, because of the melting, the sunlight has been absorbed back into the land, making it warmer. Ocean currents changed. Well, ocean currents that are during the Pleistocene cold changed back into warm, and vice versa. As we move on, what was the legacy of it? Well, landscape. Britain's landscape has been formed by glaciers and ice sheets and megafauna. Coastlines. Well, due to coastlines, since the Pleistocene was 120 meters lower or 400 feet lower, during that time, the coastlines had changed, gave Britain its look right as today. Fossils. Well, fossils were due to animals dying in tar, getting stuck in tar and then dying, and then has come to research for us due to earthquakes. Early humans. Well, back about 20,000 years ago, before the Pleistocene began, humans came, and then when the ice age started, it just went back to being normal. It just went back, and then because of the ice age, humans came back again. As we move on, any of you have questions? As we move on, I have some questions for you. So next. Question 10. What was the Pleistocene? I would like parents to ask. Identification.
So the period where there was a lot of ice ages.
Yes, correct. So, what was the ice ages?
Because of the Earth's axis and greenhouse gases also decrease.
Okay, that's correct. What was Britain like during the Pleistocene? I would like the parents to tell.
Anyone want to answer?
As parents. Okay, I'll just sign up. Sign up. Can you please answer?
It just gave.
Manya? What was Britain like?
That's what. Like a lot of animals like living on their body rest.
Okay, good. As we move on, we are going to revise what we have said, what I have said. Well, what was the Pleistocene at the last age? The Pleistocene was a long, cold period. What happened during the Eocene? Well, sea levels were much lower. North America and Eurasia were colder, and humans lived in smaller groups. Why did it happen? Well, due to changes in Earth's orbit and ocean currents, ice sheet making helped the Earth make more ice ages and etc. What was Britain like during the Pleistocene? Well, it had glacial periods, climate fluctuation, the landscape, and shaping modern Britain as it is today. What was the legacy of it? Landscape, fossils, coastlines, and etc. Any questions? You don't have question 10 we have covered, and this is now revision. Next, as we move on, this is the references. Next, thank you.